The female warden delivers meals to the prisoners every day, but she's never seen what they look like. That's because all the inmates held in this prison are top big shots with extremely high mental power, but they suffered a mental breakdown and severely regressed into fluffy forms. Major General White Lion, gorgeous bird of paradise, First Prince Black Panther, Fluffy Rabbit Sen, Nine-tailed Fox, Pirate Leader. Each of them is a monster who kills without blinking an eye, yet they all flirt with her like crazy and beg her for cuddles nonstop. Her name is Junglan. She accidentally transmigrated into a book as a useless cannon fodder with zero fertility value. To stay alive, she went to a remote planet to work as a warden. Who would have guessed that on her first day at work? Major General White Lion had a mental breakdown episode. His eyes were filled with scarlet red, and he slammed into the cell door tirelessly. The blue light screen of the security door was shifting between transparent and solid. The White Lion's fur was quickly dyed red. Mu Tangfeng, the bird of paradise, looked away with red eyes, unable to bear watching any longer. Back in the day, he Hanshi fought thousands of Zerg alone. He rose to fame after saving tens of thousands of refugees. He's not just the idol of countless females in the interstellar world, but also the war god Mu Tangfeng admired the most. But ever since the Empire sent them here, they knew they had long been abandoned. He Hanshi's slams got weaker and weaker. Maybe today was the day he would die. Just as everyone was drowned in sadness, Zhonglan was familiarizing herself with the warden's manual, but the dense text looked like hypnotic symbols, and she closed her eyes before she knew it. Right at that moment, a palm-sized turquoise mushroom popped out of the top of her head. It wiggled its body twice, then hopped nimbly off Jianglan's head, and passed straight through the door without any obstruction. It hopped all the way onto the White Lion's head, then drilled right into it. A dozen seconds later, the mushroom drilled back out. It looked like it had grown a fair bit, and its color had turned red. It wobbled around like it was drunk. Little bits of green fluorescent light came off its body and slowly seeped into the White Lion's body. The magical thing was, the White Lion's originally crazed red eyes slowly returned to normal clarity. Maybe it was from losing way too much blood. He Hanshi felt super dizzy and lightheaded. In the blink of an eye, his huge body crashed to the ground. The mushroom got flung several meters away at once. It rolled around once on the ground, shook its little mushroom head groggily, then snuck through the wall fast, keeping its good deed unmentioned. The sound of the White Lion hitting the ground echoed through the empty prison. Rabbit Sen was so scared all his fur stood on end. He covered his eyes with his paws and asked Mu Tangfeng, "How's He Hanshi?" He didn't dare to look. But He Hanshi had completely lost his mind during this episode. A tragedy was basically guaranteed to happen. Only Black Panther and the nine-tailed red fox stayed relatively calm. None of the three of them had a clear view of cell number 1. Only Mu Tangfeng, the bird of paradise on the opposite side, saw it the clearest. They perked up their ears silently, paying attention to He Hanshi's condition. They saw a shadow of red flash by. Almost the entire back of the White Lion was dyed red. Mu Tangfeng's heart clenched tightly. "Major General He, can you hear me?" He called out a few times, burning with anxiety, but got no response the whole time, especially when he saw the robot butler of cell number 1. Was so scared that it curled up in the corner into a ball. He shouted angrily, "What are you still standing there for, number 1? Hurry up and treat Major General, he's injuries." All robot butlers here are named after their cell numbers, and they have multiple functions. Number 1 received the order, then timidly rolled over to the White Lion's side and nudged him gently to confirm the White Lion really couldn't move. And his mental power had temporarily calmed down. It finally relaxed and changed back to its original form. It used its mechanical arm to carry the big White Lion into the healing pod in the room. Number 1, is Major General He still alive? Mu Tangfeng forced those words out of his tight throat. It was the first time he'd seen He Hanshi in such a mess. He didn't even dare to hear the answer. Number 1's eyes flickered for a moment, and its cold mechanical voice carried a hint of human-like relief. The Major General's external injuries are the most serious. He's still alive. Hearing that, everyone in the prison finally breathed a sigh of relief. But if things keep going like this, it's only a matter of time before he dies. When Mu Tangfeng thought of this, his mood sank again. Watching number 1 start cleaning the cell, he pressed the red hidden bell next to the door. In the cold, unfeeling warden's office, Jianglan was sleeping soundly, when a sharp ringing suddenly went off. and she jumped up immediately. Attention, warden. Emergency call from the hidden bell of cell number 2. Arrive within 5 minutes. Jianglan instantly sobered up. The prison is really huge. Luckily, the office isn't too far from the inner detention area. She reached the inner part of the prison on time and spotted blood inside cell number 1. The number 1 housekeeping robot was doing repair work on the side. She jumped in shock. What on earth happened here? She completely forgot about the emergency bell from cell number 2. She poked her head to look inside cell number 1, but didn't catch sight of the white lion. Oh my god. No way someone escaped on my first day of work, right? There's a warden-only verification lock on the cell door, but she still remembered the management manual and what the previous warden told her. Never open the cell doors under any circumstances, because inmates might not just force their way out. When their mental power collapses, they can also go berserk and hurt people out of nowhere. She values her own life a lot. After confirming the security door was completely intact, she walked towards cell number 2. Sir? What can I do for you? When she looked inside the cell, she froze for a second, completely starstruck. She never expected Mu Tangfeng could take human form. His bird of paradise beast form was already super attractive. After turning into a human, every single feature of his face is absolutely exquisite. She was totally drooling over him. Mu Tangfeng was very annoyed. Go open the door of cell number 1. Go inside and help the number 1 housekeeping robot clean. His commanding tone was full of obvious disgust. Jianglan almost laughed out of anger. Just looking at the state of cell number 1, someone definitely had a mental power outburst. If I was dumb enough to open that cell door, I'd be signing my own death warrant. But it's her first day on the job after all. She kept up her polite professional smile. I'm sorry, Lord Mu. We're usually not allowed to open cell doors. Mu Tangfeng actually knew that too. The Empire just wants them to rot here and die. But when he thought of He Hanshi having a mental breakdown, he couldn't help taking his anger out on the female in front of him. Clatter. A lunchbox was thrown out of the window. Food spilled all over the floor. It's not too much to ask you to clean that up, right? Jianglan was really mad, but she suddenly thought of her friend's kitten. That cutely pushed water cups off the table. She looked at Mu Tangfeng's smug smile, and her anger faded a lot for no reason. People are always more tolerant of fluffy creatures, especially since she's a total fluffy fanatic. She wouldn't have chosen to work here otherwise. She wiped the smile off her face. All right, sir. She turned and left after saying that. Seeing that, Mu Tangfeng laughed louder and louder. Jiang Xia couldn't help sighing. Damn, Mu Tangfeng, that was brutal. What you just did would have made me want to hit you too. I can't believe this woman still smiled. You short-legged beast. You want to hit me? Get out of your cell first, then talk. You, Mu Tangfeng, come over here if you dare fly over. Let's have a duel. Mu Tangfeng scoffed and ignored him after that. His human form doesn't last long. He turned back into his beast form right now. Thinking that the female would come to clean soon, his mood got a little better. He even dragged a chair and sat by the door, ready to enjoy the show. Not long after, Jianglan came back, but she brought a robot with her. Mu Tangfeng's face instantly turned dark with anger. How dare you trick me, female? I told you to clean. Why did you bring a robot? But this is my robot that I brought. If it cleans, that's the same as me cleaning, right? Jianglan blinked innocently. Mu Tangfeng gritted his teeth and stood up from the chair. He was so angry his paws stamped on the floor so fast they left blurs. His large wings flapped so hard they blew wind all over the cell. As one of the 4 major aristocratic families of the Empire, the Mu family's sole heir, back in the Empire, Mu Tangfeng might not have been someone who could get whatever he wanted, but no one ever dared to mess with him, let alone pull a cheap trick like this on him. Even previous wardens, when he ordered them to pick up and eat the food he threw on the floor, never dared to talk back at all. But this tiny little female in front of him is actually unbelievably bold. Jiang Xia next door laughed louder and louder. Mu Tangfeng could feel his mental breakdown coming on. His head and heart were hurting. He couldn't win the argument against Jianglan, so he could only glare at the robot that had already finished cleaning the floor. Didn't think he was so easy to rile up. I'd better not provoke him anymore. He let out a sigh. He took a rag from the robot and wiped the floor twice. Then he left with the robot. Mu Tangfeng saw this scene. He let out a cold snort. The pain in his head and chest actually eased a lot. Even though that female just put on a show and wiped twice, at least he cleaned it himself. He still gets to keep his pride. Interesting? Zhang Jia rolled his eyes. Then he pressed the emergency call bell in his room. You've had your fun just now. I want to have some fun too. Zhanglan had just sat down when she stood up again. This time the light for cell 4 was on. These adults really love making a fuss. But she wasn't scared at all. She brought the robot with her just in case. She arrived at cell 4. The rabbit beastman inside was sitting on a crystal clear throne. It looked really exquisite. But to Zhanglan, he looked just like a kid playing grown up. He was so cute she wanted to go pet him so bad. Jingxia could naturally feel the female's gaze. It was a little different from the gazes of other females. There seemed to be some weird fondness in her eyes. It was neither crazy nor obsessive. He couldn't tell what was so weird about it. But I don't hate this female that much. Life in prison is super boring. So messing with the warden has become their favorite pastime. He pulled himself out of his thoughts. He told robot number 4 to send the empty lunchbox out. Zhaolan took it and looked inside. The food was all gone, completely cleaned out. Not even a single grain of rice was left. No wonder he looks so chubby and cute. He really takes good care of himself. There was a smile in her eyes. Great job. You finished all your food? She sounded just like a mom praising her little baby. Zhangxia was originally planning to cause more trouble. His fluffy round face instantly heated up when he heard that. She's so special. This is the first female that's ever praised me like this. The tail under him swayed gently. He looked even cuter now. Zhanglan stood there admiring his fluffy self for a while. It was so frustrating only being able to look but not pet him. She decided to also collect the lunchboxes from cell 3 and cell 5 while she was at it. Yeming's dark leopard face didn't show much emotion. Yan Huoshui. The fox seemed to twitch the corner of his mouth up a little. He even winked at Zhanglan. I guess she's been single for too long. Even a fox looks handsome to her now. Zhanglan felt a little dizzy and flustered. She quickly shook her head to snap out of it. Zhangxia saw this from behind. He huffed angrily. This female is so fickle. She was just smiling at me a second ago. Now she's smiling at other beastmen. He rushed over and banged on the door. He successfully got Zhanglan to come over. What can I do for you, Mr. Zhang? I want another bowl of food. No rice, just meat. I want it in 10 minutes. If you're even 1 minute late, I'll annoy you with my dark spirit every single day. After Zhanglan heard this, she decided to take back the comment she made earlier that Zhang Xia was harmless. To avoid being late, she nodded immediately and left. She rushed to the canteen to pack the meat. She hurried all the way there and back. She managed to make it back with the meat right at the 10-minute mark. She was dead tired. There were a few pink patches on her little face. Zhang Xia's tail swayed a few times unconsciously when he saw that. Fine, you're good. He awkwardly told the robot to get the lunchbox. But Zhanglan didn't move. Instead, she spoke up. I did as you asked, Mr. Zhang. Since there's a penalty for being late, there should be a reward for being on time too, right? I delivered it on time this time, so you have to promise not to press the emergency call bell again today. She had just been running for a while. Her breathing was still uneven. Her voice sounded even softer. Even though she looked very imposing on the surface, Zhang Xia was still completely smitten with her. He didn't even hear what she said clearly. He just nodded in a daze. After the robot brought the food inside, he realized what he had promised way too late. Damn that female. Her spirit form must be a fox, too. Why else would he be so dazed that he agreed to something like that? The warden sounds all nice and proper. But she's basically just a servant that waits on them, right? Why should I listen to her conditions? But males always keep their word. Of course he couldn't go back on his promise. Jiangxia angrily bit off a big chunk of meat. Oil got all over the fur on his face again. He remembered the female was still at the door, so he silently turned his back to her. His eating manners were surprisingly a lot more polite now. Looking at his even rounder back, Zhanglan felt her hands itching again. She thought about the strange situation in cell 1. She walked over to the cell of the fox who seemed the nicest to ask about He Hanxi's condition. She found out He Hanxi was sent to the healing pod by a robot. She was really glad she didn't listen to that bird's advice to go inside and clean. His psychic power flared up and wrecked the room so badly, he would have died for sure if he went in. But she thought back to those heroic feats he had on the Star Network. She felt a little bit regretful about it. He said thank you to the Red Fox, then turned around and left. Yan Hoshui thought this new warden is quite fun, actually. Mutangfeng, you and Zhangxia better not get rid of him that fast. Fox orcs are born with charm skills. When they use it, people fall into a trance and completely turn into puppets, letting them do whatever they want. Zhangxia's face was covered in grease, glared fiercely at Yan Hoshui. Mind your own damn business. Don't use any of your fox tricks. On that female, you hear... Yan Hoshui did use it on that female, but she snapped out of it in just a few seconds. That was totally beyond his expectation. Even the super strong He took over 10 seconds to break free back then. Thinking of that, he laughed even more recklessly, mumbled in a low voice. Really interesting indeed. For the next few hours, the spine bell never rang again. It was almost lunchtime. Zhanglan went to check the kitchen ahead of time. The kitchen robots were working in an orderly way. Every step was strictly controlled. The food was very hygienic, but the taste was way too bland. And everything was just stewed meat. There was no seasoning except salt. They were super expensive, though. But they tasted really bad. She rummaged around the kitchen. The storage fridge had all kinds of seasonings and veggies. Her eyes lit up immediately. Happily took some out. Decided to make green pepper fried cuckoo beast. And make a nutritious gaga beast soup with herbs. Add a few red dates at the end. The taste was sweet, rich, and really good. She packed 2 lunch boxes. One for herself and the other for He. When she was done cooking, the robots also packed the lunch boxes for the lords. Zhonglan happily put the lunch boxes into her space pouch to deliver meals to the lords on time. The healing pods in this world work really well. In just 2 or 3 hours, He appeared in the prison completely unharmed. But Zhanglan noticed sharply that the fur on the white lion's front paw was much thinner. You could even see the pink flesh underneath. Luckily, he survived. Are you okay, Lord He? Hearing this form of address, He felt like it was a lifetime ago. Everyone used to call him Major General. Even the previous warden did the same. But he's no longer that Major General from the battlefield. His gaze fell on Jianglan. His ice blue eyes were like the vast ocean, even though he almost died not long ago. There was no self-pity in his eyes at all. Thank you for your concern, Warden. I'm fine now. That's good to hear. Then she took out 2 lunch boxes, one packed by the robot, one made by herself. I thought you just got injured, so I made you some nutritious soup. If you don't like it, the cafeteria food is here too. He looked a little surprised. He looked at Jianglan carefully. Her eyes were very clear, showing real sincerity. His eyes got even softer. Thank you. It smells great. It's a dish I've never seen in the prison before. I like it a lot. His voice was very warm and pleasant. Jianglan blushed for no reason. The ignored Mu Tangfeng opposite was furious. He banged the door hard with his wings, yelling, "Are you trying to starve us to death?" Jianglan finally snapped back to her senses, turned around and quickly put the food by the window, then went to the next room right after. When she saw Mu Tangfeng open his lunchbox, He gaze unconsciously drifted over. He saw Mu Tangfeng angrily slamming his bowl, mumbling about this shitty food again. He quietly lowered his eyes. So, only I got this? Of course, in the entire prison, only He isn't as hard to serve as those other entitled pricks. Jiaolan wouldn't ask for trouble on purpose. After delivering lunch to all the lords, she started eating in her office. In her past modern life, she was very independent since childhood. She left her birth family that favored boys over girls early, so her cooking skills are pretty good. She took a bite. She finally felt alive again. Delicious food really has the power to heal people. It was all eaten up in no time. He even wanted some after-dinner dessert. He acted on the thought right away. Put the ingredients into the robot's food compartment. Adjust all the parameters properly. In just 5 minutes, he got the high-temperature baked strawberry cream cake. Oh my god. The cake made by the robot is so delicious. He kept a few for himself, then gave one to each of the big shots. Seeing He 2 completely empty lunch boxes, He felt happy for being recognized. Probably because he was full and satisfied. The giant lion was lying lazily on the bed with eyes closed. He only opened his eyes when he heard Junglan's footsteps. "Warden, you're here?" Junglan smiled back. "Brought you some after-dinner dessert? Give it a try. If you like it, I can prepare more for you next time." Hearing the word "you guys," Hanshi realized he wasn't the only one. But he wasn't upset at all. Instead, he was grateful that Junglan thought of them. He asked the robot butler to bring over the cake. He sniffed it lightly with his pink nose. The tiny cake in front of his huge beast form seemed barely enough for a single bite. "It looks a bit too small." Junglan awkwardly changed the subject. "Oh right, I'm Junglan. Just call me by my name from now on. Calling me Warden feels a little weird to me." "Okay." The white lion lowered his head, his warm ears drooping down. Junglan packed up the lunch boxes, then turned around and went to cell number 2. This time, Mu Tangfeng also ate everything up cleanly. When he saw Junglan, he snorted coldly. He was clearly still upset about what happened that morning. Junglan had no patience for his attitude. He put down the cake, said, "Here's your after-dinner dessert," politely, and left right away. "I finished all my food. Why did you praise that short-horned beast and not me?" He banged on the security door angrily again. Junglan walked back. "What's wrong?" Mu Tangfeng asked in a disgruntled tone. "There's only one. If you don't want it, just leave it." Afraid Junglan would take the cake away, he shifted to human form and stuffed the cake into his mouth immediately. "Who said I don't want it?" Then he looked at Junglan proudly. Childish. As Mu Tangfeng ate the sweet dessert in his mouth, he silently counted how many times they talked just now. That made him feel a little better. Of course, the difficult ones were Mu Tangfeng and Jiang Xia. The Black Panther Yeming didn't say much. He just said thank you, then asked the robot to take the cake. He hid back in the darkness. Junglan glanced at cell number 3 from the corner of his eye. The deeper it went inside, the darker it got. He could only hear Yeming's voice, not see him. He looked away and went to Jiang Xia's cell. Jiang Xia had behaved a lot better since what happened that morning. This time after he took the small cake,